All right, haven't made a video in a while, but I figured this was a fun topic. Just got home and learned the news that evidently Riot has announced that they will be ceasing development on 2XKO. And approximately 1% of me is upset about this because I was looking forward to Mel Medarda being added because that scene at the end of season 2 where she saves Caitlyn lives rent free in my mind. One of the sickest, coldest moments ever, demonstrated how cool her power is, and immediately made her go from a character I didn't really care that much about to top 4 character in the show. And considering who the top 3 characters in that show are, that's kind of a really meaningful statement. Right? The other 99% of me says good. Fuck this game. And fuck Riot Games, okay? I already made a whole video on this topic on my channel talking about the difficulties that I had playing that game. Literally even trying to install the Riot client, right? Fuck this game and fuck Riot Games. I think this is well deserved because they did this to themselves. They made mistake after mistake. They had on their hands a potential gold mine. And through either corporate incompetence or some kind of corporate maliciousness, they shot themselves in the foot time and time again to the point where a game that could have been so successful and had so much hype behind it became like the fucking Concord of fighting games, right? The game's been out for less than a year and it's Marvel Infinite. I mean, that's what they've done to it. I mean, it had a little bit more success than Marvel Infinite, right? People don't feel as negatively about the game as Marvel Infinite, but that's what it's been reduced to. And that's pretty fucking impressive, honestly. For a company like Riot, with as many resources as they have, and for an IP as popular as that, to fuck this up so badly is impressive. And the fact that this happens so often, all the time, I think really speaks to just how incompetent business leadership is in general, like across the board. Like, some people, I don't, but a lot of people like to think that we live in some kind of meritocracy where the people at the top got there because they know what they're doing, they have good ideas, that they earned their place at the top through hard work and some kind of merit, right? But the truth of the matter is, it really does feel like you either have to attribute all of the failings in media or in corporate the corporate media, be it in movies, in video games, just in any corporation or even in the government, frankly. Anytime there's a bureaucracy and there's a failing of that leadership, you have to attribute it either to intentional maliciousness or stupidity. And there's a saying that you should never attribute to malice what can be attributed to stupidity. And I don't know, there's a lot of fucking stupidity out there. I mean, I'm going to get to talking about Sony, but Sony's doing this. Microsoft's doing this. To the point where Nintendo's starting to look like the good guy again. And when Nintendo is starting to look like the good guy, you really fucked up, okay? So, Riot in their statement kind of said, like, well, after looking at all of our potential options, I got a question. Did you ever consider putting your fucking game on Steam? Did that cross your fucking mind? Because, I mean, I gotta tell you, I wanted to play 2XKL. I was super interested in playing that game. And for the very brief time that I did manage to play that game, I enjoyed playing it. I thought Vi was a super fun character. I'd been looking forward to playing her. I wanted to play her. I wanted to play Caitlyn when she came out. I was interested in learning to play Jinx, right? Because I'm an Arcane fan. I don't fucking play League, right? I was an Arcane fan, okay? Arcane got me interested in that. I know that they're working on like a new spin-off to Arcane, I think focusing on Mel or something with the witches, I don't know. And that would have been great because I was looking forward to Mel coming to the game. There's a huge audience of people. I remember watching a fucking Double Toasted episode where Martin said that after watching Arcane, he doesn't even play video games, but after watching Arcane Season 1, he was like, oh shit, dude, what is this? This game looks awesome. Let me go find out this game. I want to play this game because this show is so awesome. And then he looked at League of Legends and he's like, oh, okay, never mind, right? But that's the kind of appeal that that show had. Season 1 was so fucking good that it made some old guy who doesn't even play video games want to go play a video game. And then, of course, you know, League looks so unappealing that he didn't, right? But 2XKO could have been that instead, right? It could have been a bridge. It could have been a gateway. And they fucked that up. But one, because the game's not going to be around anymore. And two, because of how inaccessible the game was. So maybe, you know, some people maybe like to think or cope that, well, you know, VPN users are not a significant demographic of the world. I'd argue that they are. VPN sponsorships are all over the fucking place. You go watch any YouTube video, somebody's gonna fucking hawk a VPN at you. A significant portion of people use VPNs for any number of reasons, right? I mean, there's some pretty common reasons and increasingly justifiable reasons why people use VPNs. So the fact that Riot basically said to me, as a VPN user, that I can't play their game, I can't be part of their ecosystem, I can't give them money even if I wanted to. And so many of these other businesses do the same, like Disney Plus, right? It's bad business. They're just shooting themselves in the foot. There's nothing to gain from it. And then when I go online and I tell people, I complain about this, and I say, is there anything I can do about this? They say some stupid shit to me like, well, I wouldn't want to play against you anyway in your VPN because it's going to be a bad connection. Bitch, I play Street Fighter 6 all the time with a perfect fucking connection, okay? I've got like 20 milliseconds of ping here, okay? On my wired connection, and like, it's a perfect fucking connection. It's not like I'm connecting to across the planet. I'm connecting to an adjacent state. There's no meaningful added time to this, right? At that point, you're complaining about the difference between a wired controller and a wireless controller. It's petty, meaningless bullshit, right? It's petty. So for Riot to say to me that I can't even play their game that I want to play and I'd be interested in playing, that I might have given them money for to buy some cool fucking skins for the characters that I like, because I've certainly spent some money in Marvel Rivals that I probably shouldn't have spent, right? And they're just saying, no, you can't be part of this ecosystem. And then to say, our game doesn't have the kind of player base that we want it to have. So we're going to lay off half of our staff, and we're going to announce that publicly right after launch, immediately after the game finally comes out, after fucking blue balling people for years with this fucking game. We're going to lay off half of our staff and make that a public announcement and undermine everybody's confidence in the game. And I said at that time, I said then, it's over. The game's done. They've given up. They've lost confidence in it. And there's no way it goes up from here. And, as usual, I was correct, because now they're ceasing development. They've given up because, again, the player base isn't there. They're not seeing the retention, and they're not seeing new players coming in. And they're going to say shit like, after considering all of our options, at what point did you consider putting the game on Steam? You didn't even try it. Fucking Blizzard, the fucking king of their own personal DRM system, okay? Even they have decided now. Everyone else, literally all of these other DRM platforms, all of these other publishers have relented and said, okay, we're going to put our shit on Steam even if we're still going to integrate our third-party bullshit that I'm not personally a fan of. Even Microsoft, they're going to release their games on Steam even if it requires some connection back to their third-party app. But the game will be on Steam. Did Riot consider this? No. 2XKO never came to Steam, right? So I don't want to hear about low player counts, because I personally would have loved to play this game, and they told me to go fuck myself. And I know for a fact that I'm not the only person in this situation, let alone all the other things that they were doing, like overpricing skins and blue balling people for years and laying off half their staff immediately after the game came out, right? But the thing that I don't give a shit about 2XKO. The reason I'm making this video is because I do care about another game that's in a very similar situation. I care about Marvel Tokon. Marvel Tokon should have been the single biggest, easiest slam dunk of all time, right? This is a Marvel IP in, like, we're still in the Marvel Renaissance. The fact is we're still in the Marvel Renaissance. Even if things are not at the peak right now, we're still in the Renaissance, okay? Marvel Rivals is doing great. Doomsday is about to come out. People are still excited for it, even if they're not as excited as they maybe would have been or should have been, right? And this is being developed and published by Arc System Works, after back-to-back bangers with Dragon Ball FighterZ and then Guilty Gear Strive that put them on the map and made fighting games themselves, put fighting games on the map in a way they'd never been before. Fighting games themselves, just in general, even outside of ARCs, are on the map more than they've been since the fucking 90s, okay? This should have been the biggest layup, slam dunk of all time. Easiest fucking win, right? And somehow they fucked it up. And by they, I mean Sony. Sony sabotaged the release of this game because they are too fucking stubborn, too arrogant, too stupid to accept that a good PC, successful PC release would have been good for business, right? And I know that they sabotaged it because this game was originally announced as cross-platform PC and PS5, and then after that happened, Sony decided to go back on their previous commitment to releasing games on Steam, to releasing games on PC. And they decided that starting this year, games are going to be exclusive to PS5 again. Starting with basically Wolverine, right? You'll no longer be able to play PlayStation games on PC. So it is not surprising to me that they would go out of their way to sabotage the PC release of Tokon. And we know that they sabotaged it. Here's how we know. Here's the facts that we have. Game comes out. And this is not a fact, but this is heavily rumored that they pushed up the release of the game from when it was originally supposed to release. And I would argue they announced the game way too early too, because I think they were blue balling us with Tokon's release as well for a long time as well, but that's a whole different thing. So we're pretty sure they pushed up the release, okay? Game finally fucking comes out. Runs perfect on PS5. Nobody's reporting any issues on PS5, right? Game runs like ass on PC. Even during the beta, people were reporting this. They reported it in the beta. They don't have it fixed in time for the beta, right? They're not able to fix it until a week later that they are able to fix performance for some people, and they're still working on a second patch to be released sometime in the near future that might fix it for more people. And what we find out is the game is lockdown heavy. People are super paranoid. People are super doomsday about it. They're like, we're never going to be able to mod this game. The DRM is crazy. We're not going to be able to data mine this game. We're not going to learn anything about it, right? Turns out none of that shit's true. Game is locked down, but it can be modded. The game already has mods, and it's already been cracked. It's been like 2.5 weeks, and the game's already been modded, and it's already been cracked. And what people have been learning from the cracked version of the game, right? It runs like twice as well, if not more. By taking out Sony's proprietary DRM system, Theia or whatever, you take that out, the game suddenly runs twice as good, if not better. Suddenly people who couldn't run the game before on old hardware or on older hardware, those same people that I would make fun of for trying to run the game at all, frankly, now suddenly they can run the game because it turns out Arx is a good developer and they optimize the game super well. But Sony's DRM, which is now literally pointless because the game has been cracked, and if you want a free copy of it, you can get it easy, no problem, because it's been cracked, right? So the DRM serves no purpose. Is literally just slowing the game down, punishing and hurting people who paid money for this game. So the people who are most dedicated, most interested, most invested in this game, and paid money for it up front and are most likely to spend money for it in the future, have an inferior copy of the game that literally plays worse, and on PC, just is inferior overall. Now, supposedly the matchmaking issue is also a thing on PS5, so that maybe is specifically an Arx's problem. Okay, sure. But all the other factors here suggest that Sony went out of their way to make the PC port as shitty as possible, right? Now, is it just a coincidence that the PC port is shitty because, you know, Sony was really scared of the game getting cracked and it wasn't an intentional effort to sabotage the game? Sure, maybe, right? Maybe we attribute it to stupidity, that they thought that their DRM would be better, it would prevent the game from getting cracked, and they didn't think that it would have this kind of negative ramification, right? The kind of ramifications that result in the peak player count on Steam for Marvel Tokon, a Marvel property coming out after FighterZ, coming out after Guilty Gear Strive, peaked at a lower player count than Guilty Gear Strive itself. And currently has, like, what, 5,000 players max, right? That's pathetic. Like, that's insane. Marvel Rivals maintains, like, 200,000 active players at all times. That's insane. Like, how did you fuck this up? And people are genuinely worried about the future of the game because they fucked this up so bad. People are saying, Well, a lot of people have already turned off crossplay. A lot of people are not going to play the PC version. A lot of people have already been scared off. There's a lot of other games out there that for some reason they also insisted, I hated this, they insisted on going toe-to-toe with Avatar Legends the entire fucking time. Ever since Avatar Legends got announced, Tokon and Legends went fucking neck to neck the whole time, and I don't know why. Well, I mean, Avatar Legends is perfect. People got nothing bad to say about Avatar Legends. And people are playing that, and apparently Avatar Legends is doing great. I mean, it's got a fraction of the player base, right? But it costs a fraction of the money, right? They're doing great. That IP is doing just fine. Not to mention, you know, Street Fighter is still the most popular fighting game right now. Somehow people are still playing Tekken. NetherRealm's probably working on something. There's plenty of choice in terms of fighting games. You know, people don't need to be playing Marvel Tokon. They've got to turn this around somehow. And I'm not sure how they do it, because they didn't turn around Marvel Infinite, right? I maintain that Marvel Infinite could have been turned around. That game had an awful launch, right? It did. Truly bad launch. But if Marvel Infinite had hung on for like 1 fucking year, they could have fixed all the problems with that game, right? I mean, obviously they could have had the development. They themselves could have modded the graphics. But as we know, like Max and his friends or his dev team, they went and did that themselves eventually anyway. And that's when the game wasn't being actively played. If the game was being actively played and supported, we probably would have gotten Infinite Beyond as a mod way faster and way sooner than we did, right? That's my guess. But here's the big thing. People's main complaint with Infinite was the lack of X-Men characters. Guess what happened like literally 1 fucking year after Infinite came out? Marvel got the rights to the X-Men back, right? So if they had just supported that game for 1 fucking year and kept it alive for 1 year, they could have turned around and Season 2 could have been the fucking X-Men season. They could have dropped Wolverine, Storm, Magneto, Jean Grey, and fucking Gambit all in the same season, and they'd have blown the doors off the fucking, like, everything, right? It would have been they would have made all the fucking money, right? Fix the graphics, sell those 5 characters, and boom, you're done. You win the game. Right? fuck the Capcom side of it. Just sell those Marvel characters and you're good. Right? You would have fixed the game right there in year 2. And you could have had 5 more years of support at least on that. But they gave up. They gave up instantly. They said, we don't think this is going to work out. Even though the game had a lot of merit. The game had some cool characters in it. And the game had some good mechanics in it. I mean, in a lot of ways, it was the precursor to Tokon with the active switching and stuff. People like Max, they found a lot of value and a lot more merit than I did. I didn't think it was that great, but some people really fucking stand that game. They think Marvel Infinite's really fucking good because it calls back to like the original Marvel vs. Capcom, right? Age of Heroes, okay? The game could have done well if they supported it for just a year. But I'm not sure, especially with this announcement of 2XKO. I mean, what are the expectations for Marvel Tokon? It's got to make a lot of money. It's a Sony published game. It's a Marvel IP game. And Arxis has shit to do, right? Arxis is like the most successful fighting game developer out there. And I still want them to make a Naruto game. Do they really have the time to sit here and fucking, fuck around with this game that nobody's playing when they could move on to literally anything else? People want them to make a One Piece fighting game. If Arxis made a One Piece fighting game, that would blow the doors off. It would blow the doors off. Same with the Naruto fighting game. Arxis could do literally anything. So why would we tie them down to a sinking ship, right? Just because Sony was too stupid or too malicious to allow this game to have a good launch. And some people are saying, well, it sold well on PS5. I haven't seen Sony come out and say the game's a fucking blockbuster. I haven't seen it. All I've seen is negative press surrounding the PC version. I haven't seen anyone say the PS5 version's a fucking success, right? And I don't think anyone's going out and buying a PS5 for Marvel Tokon. If you have a PC and you play fighting games on PC and you decided not to get Tokon, you didn't buy it on PS5. If you're a content creator, sure, you already bought the game on both systems regardless because it's all fucking, taxable income. You put that shit on your taxes and you get the money back, right? Sure. But everyone else, if you're just a casual, if you're just a normal person, You're not going to go and buy a PS5, and you're probably not going to buy this game on PS5. I'm certainly not going to fucking do that. I was never going to start paying PS Plus to play fucking Marvel Tokon online. Like, that's just idiotic. I got other shit to go. And to be honest, I haven't even been playing Marvel Tokon. Not because I think the game's bad. I'm a little depressed about its current situation. I think the game has tons of sauce. I mean, I still think everyone who accused the game of being sauceless during the betas, all frauds, all fraudulent people, okay? Because in its current state, every individual character has more sauce than some entire games, okay? They were all frauds. Idiots and frauds, right? But I have to admit, I'm worried. I'm not super optimistic about this. I can't see how the PC player count recovers. They would have to do something drastic to get the PC player count to recover. And if it doesn't recover, then what does that look like, right? They would have to force on crossplay, I think, in order to not affect the PC player count. Because if the PC player base gets to a point where no one can get games and it just dies completely, then you just have a PS5 game, and that fucking sucks. You're gonna lose half of your FGC player base. Like, that's unacceptable, right? And that would impact your sales, obviously, and that would impact their supposed plan of 10 years of support. I don't see how a game that launches in this state gets 10 years of support. I don't see that. I'm not optimistic about it, right? I was super excited, and this should have been a slam dunk. This should have been the easiest business ever. And somehow corporate maliciousness or corporate incompetence fucked it up. And, you know, working in the corporate space myself, every day I have to ask, like, what the fuck are our leaders doing? Like, how is it that I seem to know what's going on here better than the people in charge do? Like, what are we paying all these people? What are we paying these people, you know, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to do? The answer is fucking nothing. They're all idiots.